Today's nail school is from Johannesburg, South Africa. And in this special episode, Greg is going to show you how to use your micro detailer brush to create incredibly fine lines, which are really important to make the proper outlines for any design with Mission Control gel paints. Today on Nail School. All right, bro, sleep deprivation, give us your best on today's nail school. What do we got?
Okay, so what I'm going to show you is basically on top of this plastic tip. So we've got these almond shaped tips, and I just put the sticky adhesive so that I can get it on top right here so that it sticks, and that way I can paint my design. Before I actually start painting my design, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my paint, right, just a little bit out the back of my brush, and I'm going to put it onto my tile. So black goes a long way, so what I want to be able to do, again, just get a little bit, and then with the back of my brush or with the spatula, I'm just going to just get it right onto the surface just like this. All right, we're not going to work from the pot unless you're going to be covering the whole entire surface. When you're working with a micro detailer like this, you want to work on something like a hard surface so that you could roll the tip through the surface, not in, which is going to load it up. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to cover the surface of this tip. Once I've loaded up one side, I'm going to apply it to the surface. Right? You're going to notice that the pigmentation is quite intense. What I'm going to be able to do is use this white and brush it over the whole entire surface of the tip. This is going to create an awesome background. Okay? It doesn't have to be perfect. Right? The only thing I want to be able to do is set up a background. So this is really, really thin, which is going to cure extremely well. So what I'm going to do, especially with my background, and because I've applied that much, I'm going to set this for a minimum of 30 seconds. Okay? Let's go ahead and get this inside the light. I'm going to set this for 30 seconds. You don't need to worry about curing it for the full minute. The best part about this paint is actually when you're painting fine lines to outline your designs, you only need to freeze it for 5 seconds at a time. You outline whatever you want. The best part about it is it doesn't move. I'm going to show you exactly what you're going to do with the micro detailer in order for you guys to get those really fine lines for your designs. Okay, so we're working on the surface. Now, the best part about this is it's a tack-free surface. So you'll notice with this micro detailer that I'm not just going to put it in like this. If I put it in like this, do you see how much ends up coming on the end of the brush? I don't want it to be like this, because then when I set it down, as you can see, I'm going to end up building like these big bulbs. Okay, so in order to load my brush, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work it through the whole entire surface. Even if you brought it out and you worked it through, you see this small area right here? All right, now my brush is loaded up. You're going to notice that with the very, very tip of my brush is if I end up coming through, right, the center, look at how sharp my line ends up becoming. And it doesn't matter if it's shallow right here. Remember, it's all about creating the perfect outline. What you're going to truly love about this paint is it's not going to move. It's not going to actually widen. It's going to stay in place, right, and allow you to trace out whatever design you desire. So what I want to be able to do, again, you see this small amount that I have right here? If I'm spinning my brush through it to load it up, right, you can see from the side how I'm loading it up, and I'm basically spinning it through. That way, right, I have enough paint. And sometimes, right, if I pull too much off the tip, if I pull too much off the tip, then what I'll do is I'll barely touch the tip in order for me to load it up. Now, you're going to notice that I'm holding my brush, right? I'm not holding my brush like this. I'm holding it almost vertical. If I'm holding it almost vertical, I'm going to be able to get the very, very tip of my brush to draw in really sharp lines. Look at that, like a needle, right? You can see that angle, okay? Now, I'm gonna do one more. I'm gonna come across like a 4. Remember, I want to load my brush. I'm spinning it all the way through, right, to get it nice and thin, okay? My brush is loaded up, and then what I'm going to do, again, at the right angle, is I'm going to, with a really, really light pressure, I'm going to, almost like I'm rolling the finger, take a look at how sharp my line becomes, okay? This is the most impressive thing. I am going to take my light, I'm gonna come over the top, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi. All right? I'm gonna show you guys something crazy. Watch this. Look at that. I'm rubbing my fingers over the surface and nothing is dragging. The most incredible thing about this paint is that you can continue to outline, right? Let's say that I want to load my brush up and then I want to come in from the inside and continue, right? Continue to trace, right, inside my lines. Right? And you notice that my angle, you notice that with my fingers, right, I'm using it as a fulcrum to balance. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but if I drag through the line, you'll notice that it does not matter, right, where I go through. Look at how fine look at how fine the lines are. Look at this, watch this. As you see where I have it, I'm barely going to touch it and then I'm gonna come through. Now let's say that you don't have enough and you stop, no problem. Go back to your paint, load, just barely touch the tip, right? It's so pigmented that you can start off where you left off and continue to trace it out all the way to the bottom. See that? Let's get it inside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Continue to work. You'll notice at this point, right, I'm still working right here in this small little puddle, and I'm spinning my brush in the small little puddle to load up my brush. So at this point, right, again at the right angle, you can see this, my brush is almost at this angle. I'm not laying my brush flat like this. I'm trying to give you guys an angle. I'm not laying my brush flat like this. My brush is at this angle, almost vertical as I move. So you'll notice that lightly coming through, you can see the lines that I want to create. It doesn't matter from which point I add them. And let's say you're not happy with this. Because you freeze the bottom layer, if I decided to wipe it off, you're not going to smear the existing lines on the product and ruin your design, ruin your outline for your perfect design. Using your tile, placing the product on your tile, rolling the brush through, right, a minimal amount of product, keeping your brush vertical when you work so that you're using only the tip of the brush is going to ensure that you get tight lines, tight outlines for your beautiful designs.